Obama made an unprecedented video address to the Iranian people, the confrontation between the US and Iran has ratcheted way up, with both sides now using harsh language.
We see that the government of Iran, the supreme leader, the president, the parliament, is being supplanted, and that Iran is moving toward a military dictatorship.
We don't take her comments seriously. She's Secretary of State and she needs to make comments. But between her comments and the stances of those people around Obama, we find some contradictions all the time.
President Ahmadinejad's comments came after his government staged a show of strength during Revolution Day celebrations February 11th, and also a new crackdown by police and Basij militia on opposition protesters. All of this as Iran continues to defy the world over its nuclear program, saying that it's accelerating its uranium enrichment, and that a new draft from the IAEA saying Iran may be trying to build a nuclear warhead. These tensions also played out in Geneva, Switzerland, where the Iranian government faced blistering criticism from Western governments on its human rights record. And earlier I spoke with Mohammad Javad Larijani, head of Iran's High Council for Human Rights and a member of one of Iran's most powerful political families. I began by asking him about Secretary Clinton's recent comments.
Iran is the greatest, and not only the greatest, the only democracy in the Middle East. Mrs. Clinton's position is dubious, inconsistent, and naive. On the one hand, she is worried about democracy in Iran. On the other hand, she's offering the most generous military help to states which even they don't run a single election. Which one we should believe, Mrs. Amanpour?
Well, I just want to know, who is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard answerable to?
Well, they are legally answerable to all legal structures, which they should be. The Revolutionary Guard is part of our defense system. Okay. They have a legal status, they have legal command, and they are legally answerable to parliament, okay, to leadership, to government, depending, and also to the judiciary. Okay. There is no difference between a member of the guard and any other citizen.
If you are the most powerful, or as you say, the only democracy, the Islamic democracy in the Middle East, why do you need to crack down on your intelligentsia? What are you afraid of from journalists, from writers, from human rights activists?
We are not only we are afraid, we are trying to promote those ideas, but everything should be done within the structure of the law. We should honor the rule of the law and the rules of the game of competition. Iran is the greatest democracy, as I said, in the Middle East. We have every year one election, so we should definitely safeguard that democratic system. It is an interesting, a very unique experience to build a polity on the Islamic rationality.
You're in Geneva defending Iran's human rights, so let's talk about that. Obviously, there's been a huge amount of criticism about what Iran is doing, cracking down on the protesters, etc. All the world has seen what's happened, whether it's the beating of protesters on the street, whether it is the show trials, whether it is the imprisonments, whether it's the jailing of more than 90 journalists, the highest number anywhere, according to one of the committees right now. Why is this happening? And why is due process not being given to these people who you're arresting?
Nobody is jailed because of the protest. The only reason for jailing is the violence which was attached to the protest, a violence which got the life of more than 20 policemen and 13 civilians, and also damage to the properties and also of people's life and health. So the reason for jailing is not the protest, is the damage and the violence. Any government has a duty to bring an end to the violence. I think the beating of our police is much more less than the New York and Los Angeles police.
Okay, let me play this soundbite by Iran's Nobel Prize winner, who is Shireen Ebadi, who won the prize for her commitment to human rights. And this is what she's saying about the present-day situation in Iran.
The violation of human rights is increasing in Iran day by day, that government violence is increasing day by day, that innocent people are shot on the streets, that people are thrown in prison for even minor criticism of the government.
So how do you answer that? Because we've certainly seen, I know you say that people are only being arrested and put on trial for violence, but there are many, many people, including some of our colleagues, journalists, who've been put in jail for nothing other than just being on the streets, some just as observers.
No journalist is put in jail because of being journalist. Well, for inciting violence, yes, they are pursued by the legal structure. And with all the respect I have for Mrs. Shireen Ebadi, but I think her records in defending human rights is very dismal. She speaks in a language perhaps is more relevant to White House and other capitals in the West. She's totally detached from the people of Iran. She should go to the countryside, rural areas, to see what is the aspiration of our people.
Well, Mr. Larijani,
she can't spend the time in Paris and London.
Mr. Larijani, you know that she's not there because she's being pursued by the government, and I've reported on her work, and some of her, some of her work has led to much more freedom, certainly legally, for some Iranian women and children. But can I move on? There have obviously been significant numbers of people who've come out protesting the election results in Iran. Now, whatever you might think of that, do they not have a right to do that? And why are people, for instance, being sentenced to death, again, being put into trial without due process and without proper representation? I would like to play you a little clip of a speech to Friday prayers that one of the senior Iranian Ayatollahs made, Ayatollah Jannati. He was actually speaking to your brother, the chief of the judiciary, and this is what he had to say.
Just as you came and executed these two individuals very quickly, and thank you so much for that, come and stand up like real men. If you show any weakness or hesitation, they will overtake you.
So there is a senior Ayatollah basically praising the execution of people. There are 9 more people sitting waiting to be executed. I mean, is this Islamic democracy, as you call it?
Nobody is executed because of demonstration. That 2 people were even, they were in detention months before the election. They were responsible for bombing in Shiraz, killing in one mosque at least 14 people. So yes, we have death penalty for this kind of atrocities.
I know what the government has done. As you say, you're giving death penalties and other harsh penalties to what you call enmity towards God. Enmity towards God. And it seems like a lot of protest is falling into that category.
No, you should not be mistaken. This is a legal word. Those who indulge themselves in terrorist activities with the aim of changing the regime or the government or killing and bringing and damaging the security of the people, this is a legal term, that this is a kind of war with God. If you damage the life of the people, it is a war, it is against the will of God. So definitely those indulge in terrorist activities, they are pursued by law. They will face a very harsh sentence if it is proved by the court, in fact.
All right. What I want to know is why so many people are falling into this new sort of legal parameter, and those people who are protesting, are they terrorists?
No, the protest is not terrorist. To protest is not a terrorist act. Quite differentiation between them.
Okay, we'll continue right after a break. Stay with us, Mr. Larijani.